My girlfriend said, "Love shouldn't feel like a job." I said, "Then I'm off the clock." She laughed until I stopped paying her bills, packed my side of the closet, and let her explain to her friends why her backup plan had suddenly stopped answering. Original post. My girlfriend Cassie told me love should not feel like a job while I was standing in our kitchen at 11:40 at night, still wearing my work boots, holding a grocery bag with eggs, chicken, paper towels, and the oat milk she liked but never remembered to buy. I said, "Then I'm off the clock." She laughed because she thought I was being dramatic. That was the first mistake she made. For context, I'm Ryan, 29, and I work as an HVAC technician in Nashville. Cassie is 28 and works as a marketing coordinator for a small event company. We had been together for almost 3 years and living together for 10 months. Our apartment was not fancy. 2 bedrooms, one for us and one for her creative office, which basically meant a desk, a ring light, and 6 half-finished ideas she said would become income one day. Rent was $1,850 a month before utilities. I paid $1,200. She paid $650. That was supposed to be temporary after she switched jobs, but temporary turned into normal. I also covered internet, most groceries, and our Costco membership. She handled electric sometimes, streaming subscriptions, and the occasional grocery run when she was in a good mood. I know how that sounds. I let it happen. That part is on me. At first, it felt like love. She was stressed, she was rebuilding, she said she needed a partner who believed in her. I wanted to be that guy. My parents divorced when I was in high school, and I used to tell myself I would never be the man who quit when things got inconvenient. So I stayed helpful. Then helpful became expected. Cassie started acting like basic consideration was emotional labor. If I asked what time she'd be home, she'd say, "Why are you tracking me?" If I asked whether she transferred her part of rent, she'd say, "I hate when you make everything transactional." If I said I was tired after crawling through attics all day, she'd say, "Everybody works, Ryan." The week everything changed started with a Thursday night dinner. Cassie had been posting little quotes on Instagram all week. Stuff like, "A man who wants to will," and "Never teach a grown man how to love you." I ignored it because I was exhausted and because, honestly, I had learned that asking about her posts only turned into a 2-hour argument where I somehow ended up apologizing. That Thursday, she asked me to pick up dinner from a Thai place near her office because she couldn't deal with cooking energy. I had worked from 6:30 in the morning to 7:15 at night, but I still drove across town. When I got home, she was on FaceTime with her friend Madison. I heard Cassie say, "He's sweet, but sometimes it's like dating a golden retriever with bills." Then she saw me. Madison got quiet. Cassie smiled like I wasn't supposed to have feelings about that. I put the food on the counter and said, "What does that mean?" She rolled her eyes and told Madison, "See." Then she hung up and said I was too sensitive. I told her I did not like being talked about like I was some joke in my own apartment. She said, "Our apartment." I said, "Fine, our apartment. I still don't like being mocked in it." That's when she hit me with the line, "Ryan, love shouldn't feel like a job." I stood there with the receipt still in my hand. It was $48.73 because she wanted extra shrimp and mango sticky rice. I asked, "What part feels like a job?" She said, "Managing your emotions, reassuring you, reporting where I am, feeling guilty because I have friends and a life. It's exhausting." I wanted to argue. I wanted to list everything I did. I wanted to say I wasn't asking for a daily report. I was asking for basic respect and rent on time. But something in me just went quiet. Maybe it was the way she said it, like she had rehearsed it. Maybe it was the fact that I had not eaten since noon, and she was already opening the takeout bag like the conversation was background noise. So I said, "Then I'm off the clock." She blinked. I walked into the bedroom, changed out of my work clothes, showered, and slept on the couch. The next morning, I did something I should have done months earlier. I opened my banking app and canceled the automatic transfer I had set up to cover her half of the car insurance. Her car was on her policy, but I had been sending her $180 every month because she said the premium increase was bad timing. Then I canceled my card from the grocery delivery app. Then I logged out of all the streaming accounts that were mine. Then I made coffee for one person. Cassie came into the kitchen around 8:15 wearing my old University of Tennessee sweatshirt. She looked at the single mug on the counter and gave this little laugh. "Wow," she said. "So we're doing punishment now." I said, "No, I'm just not doing husband-level service on boyfriend-level respect." She stared at me. I told her I wanted to talk that night after work about bills, the lease, and what we were actually doing. She said, "I have plans." I said, "Okay, then text me when you're available." That bothered her more than yelling would have, because I didn't ask what plans. I didn't ask with who. I didn't act jealous. I left for work. By lunch, she had sent me 7 texts. The first was, "You're being really immature." The second was, "I can't believe you're making money the issue." The third was, "If you're trying to scare me, it's not working." Then she sent, "Are you seriously not answering?" I was under a rooftop unit at a restaurant in Brentwood, sweating through my shirt, so I wasn't ignoring her for strategy. I was ignoring her because I had a job. When I finally checked my phone, I replied, "I'm working. We can talk tonight if you're home." She wrote, "I told you I have plans." So I wrote, "Then tomorrow." She left me on read. That night, she did not come home until 1:10 a.m. Normally, I would have been awake, anxious, annoyed, pretending I wasn't waiting. This time I was asleep. I know the time because the front door woke me up. She came into the bedroom and turned on the light. I sat up. She said, "So you don't care where I was?" I said, "I figured you had plans." Her face changed. That was the first time I realized how much of our relationship had become a performance where I chased and she measured how hard I chased. And I was done auditioning. Update: one Saturday morning, Cassie tried a new angle. She made pancakes. That might sound normal, but Cassie did not make breakfast. She ordered iced coffee and called that food. So when I walked out and saw pancakes, sliced strawberries, and her standing there in my sweatshirt again, I knew it was not breakfast. It was a negotiation tactic. She smiled and said, "Can we reset?" I wanted to say yes. That's the part people don't understand when they tell you to just leave. You don't stop loving someone the second they disrespect you. Your body still remembers the good parts, the road trips, the inside jokes, the way she used to put cold hands under my hoodie in winter and laugh when I jumped. So I sat down. She said she felt hurt that I made her sound like a burden. I said, "I didn't call you a burden. I said I'm not paying for everything while being treated like I'm annoying for wanting respect." She sighed like I had missed the point. Then she said, "You always do this. You turn love into accounting." I pulled out my phone and opened the Notes app, not to be dramatic. I had literally made a list because I knew I'd forget things if she started crying. I said, "Okay, let's remove feelings for a second. Rent is due in 9 days. Your share is $650. Electric is due Tuesday. You said you'd cover it. Groceries need to be split from now on. Your car insurance is yours. If you need help, ask directly, but don't insult me while expecting me to quietly carry it." She looked at me like I had slapped the plate out of her hand. Then she said, "So this is who you are now?" I said, "No, this is who I should have been earlier." She got up and dumped her pancakes in the trash. By noon, Madison texted me. I had known Madison for 2 years. We weren't close, but we were friendly. Her message said, "Hey, Cassie is really upset. I don't want to get involved, but maybe don't make money a weapon." I replied, "I'm not making money a weapon. I'm asking her to pay what she agreed to pay." Madison said, "She said you cut her off." I wrote, "From what?" No reply. That was when I realized Cassie had probably told a version where I was financially controlling her, and that made my stomach twist because I had grown up around that kind of thing. My dad used money to punish my mom. I was very careful not to become that, so I sent one more message to Madison. Just to be clear, Cassie has her job, her own bank account, her own car, and full access to the apartment. I canceled extra payments I was voluntarily making after she told me loving me felt like a job. She is safe. She is not trapped. Madison finally replied. I didn't know that. I did not answer. That night, Cassie went out again. This time she posted a story from a rooftop bar downtown. Her caption said, "Choosing peace." I almost laughed. I was home cleaning the apartment, doing laundry and separating my stuff from hers. Not in a dramatic way, just quietly. My socks in one basket, her throw blankets off my chair. My tools out of the hallway closet, the PlayStation into my duffel bag. I had not decided to leave yet, but I had decided not to be stuck. Sunday morning, I called my friend Marcus. Marcus had a spare room in his townhouse in East Nashville. He had offered it months before as a joke after Cassie, and I had a fight about her birthday trip to Miami. I asked if the offer was still real. He said, "How soon?" I said, "Maybe this week." He didn't ask for details. He just said, "Room's empty. Bring your ugly chair if you want." That almost made me cry, which was embarrassing because I was standing in the laundry room holding dryer sheets. I spent Sunday afternoon reading our lease. Both names were on it. Breaking it would be expensive, but the lease ended in 2 months. 2 months was survivable if I stopped covering everything else. When Cassie came home that evening, she had flowers. Not flowers for me, flowers for herself. She put them in a vase and said, "I bought myself something because someone in this apartment forgot how to be romantic." I said, "Cassie, do you want to fix this or win?" She said, "I want my boyfriend back." I said, "Your boyfriend is right here. The unpaid assistant retired." She crossed her arms and said, "You're being cold." I said, "I'm being clear." Then came the twist I did not expect. She said, "Maybe I should have listened to Tyler." I had heard that name before. Tyler was a guy from her office. He was funny, apparently. He had a boat, apparently. He understood branding, apparently. His name had floated around enough that I noticed, but not enough to accuse. I asked, "What does Tyler have to do with this?" She shrugged and said, "Nothing. He just said some men only appreciate you when they think they can lose you." I felt something sharp move through my chest, but I kept my voice calm. I said, "Then go be appreciated by Tyler." She looked shocked, like she had thrown a glass at a wall and the wall moved. Then she said, "Are you breaking up with me?" I said, "I'm saying if you're using another man to teach me a lesson, I'm not taking the class." She stormed into the bedroom and slammed the door. 10 minutes later, I got a Venmo request from her. $92. The note said, "Groceries since you're counting now." I accepted it. Then I sent her a request back for $650. The note said, "June rent." She did not accept it. Update to Monday morning, Cassie escalated in the most Cassie way possible. She posted a close friend's story. I know because 2 different people sent it to me within an hour. It was a black screen with white text that said, "It's scary how fast someone can switch up when you stop being useful to them." I stared at it in my work van outside a gas station in Franklin. For a second, my thumb hovered over the reply button. Then I locked my phone. Old Ryan would have written a paragraph. Old Ryan would have defended himself to people who already wanted a show. Old Ryan would have tried to protect the image of a relationship that was quietly exhausting him. New Ryan bought a breakfast burrito and went to my next service call. At 3:40 p.m., our apartment complex emailed both of us a rent reminder. I forwarded it to Cassie and wrote, "Please confirm you're sending your portion by Friday." She replied, "I need time." I wrote, "How much time?" She said, "I don't know, Ryan. Maybe ask Tyler since you're obsessed with him." That was the moment I stopped feeling guilty, not angry, just done. I called the leasing office and asked what my options were when a lease was ending and one roommate wanted to leave. The manager, Denise, explained that at renewal, one person could choose not to renew, but both tenants were responsible through the end of the current lease. She also said if Cassie wanted to stay, she would have to qualify a loan or add a new roommate. That was all I needed. I emailed Cassie, not texted her. I wrote that I would pay my agreed portion for the final 2 months, that I would not be renewing, and that she needed to make arrangements for herself after the lease ended. I kept it boring, factual, and polite. Then I copied the leasing office. Cassie called me 8 times. I answered on the 9th because I was parked. She was crying, not soft crying, angry crying. "You embarrass me in front of the leasing office," she said. I said, "I informed them I'm not renewing. You didn't even talk to me first. I asked to talk Thursday, you had plans. I asked Friday, you had plans. I asked Saturday. You made pancakes and called me controlling. I'm done waiting for you to take this seriously." She said, "So after 3 years, you're just leaving?" I said, "After 3 years, I'm finally listening to what you said." There was silence. Then she said, quieter, "I didn't mean it like that." That hurt more than the yelling, because maybe she didn't mean it permanently. Maybe she meant it as a weapon for one night. Maybe she thought I was supposed to absorb it, apologize, and work harder. But that was the problem. I said, "I know you didn't think I'd believe you." She hung up. That evening, when I got home, her mother was there. Her mom, Linda, is not a bad person. She is one of those Southern moms who can insult you and offer sweet tea in the same breath. She was sitting at our small dining table with Cassie, both of them looking like I had been called into a parent-teacher conference. Linda said, "Ryan, honey, I think emotions are high." I said, "They are." She said, "Cassie feels abandoned." I looked at Cassie. Cassie looked down at her nails. I said, "Cassie told me love felt like a job, mocked me to her friend, brought up another man to make me jealous, told people I cut her off, and has not paid her rent portion. I am not abandoning her. I am leaving a situation that is not healthy for me." Linda's expression changed a little. Cassie said, "That's not fair." I said, "Which part is untrue?" She didn't answer. Linda asked, "Is there someone else?" Cassie snapped, "Mom." That was all the answer anyone needed. I felt my stomach drop, even though technically I still knew nothing. Linda looked at her daughter, then back at me, and her voice was softer when she said, "Ryan, I'm sorry. I didn't know all of that." Cassie started crying for real then. She said nothing happened with Tyler. She said he flirted and she liked the attention and she had been feeling stuck with me. She said I was dependable, but sometimes dependable felt like pressure because it made her feel behind in life. That sentence stayed with me. I was dependable, and somehow she had turned that into a flaw. I told Linda I respected her, but I was not discussing our relationship with a parent referee in the room. Then I went to the bedroom and packed a duffel bag. Cassie followed me. She said, "Please don't go to Marcus's." I said, "I'm not asking permission." She blocked the closet door for half a second, then moved when she saw I was not playing. That night, I slept at Marcus's townhouse on an air mattress next to a stack of old dumbbells and a lamp with no shade. It was the best sleep I had gotten in months. The next morning, I woke up to a long text from Cassie. She apologized for the golden retriever comment, the Instagram posts, the Tyler comment, and making me feel like my effort was a burden. She said she loved me but had been testing whether I would fight for her. I read that line 3 times. Testing whether I would fight for her. I replied, "I fought for us by showing up every day. You just didn't count quiet effort as love." She wrote, "Can we go to counseling?" A month earlier, I would have said yes immediately. Instead, I said, "I think you should go. I think I should go too, but not as a couple right now." She said, "So that's it?" I said, "Yes." Then I put my phone down and went to work. Final update: the final 2 months were awkward but not explosive. I paid my part of the rent directly through the resident portal. Cassie paid late once, then on time after that. I came by on weekends when she was gone and moved my things out slowly. Marcus helped me carry the ugly chair, which he immediately admitted was comfortable, and then claimed for his living room. Cassie and I had one real conversation near the end. She asked me to meet at a coffee shop in Germantown on a Sunday morning. I almost said no, but part of me wanted a peaceful ending if we could manage one. She looked tired, not fake tired, actually tired. She said Tyler had not been what she made him sound like. He liked flirting at work, but when she was actually single, he suddenly got vague. She admitted she had used the idea of him to feel powerful because she felt insecure about depending on me. I appreciated the honesty. But honesty after the damage is still not repair. I told her I had my own part in it too. I had said yes too many times when I meant no. I had quietly built resentment instead of setting boundaries earlier. I had confused being needed with being loved. She cried a little and said, "I did love you." I said, "I believe you, but you loved me better when I was useful than when I was honest." That was the last hard thing I said to her. When the lease ended, she moved into a smaller apartment with Madison for a while. I stayed with Marcus for 3 months, saved money, and eventually got a 1-bedroom in a quieter part of town. It has old cabinets, weird water pressure, and a balcony just big enough for 1 chair. But every bill in that apartment is mine. Every grocery bag is mine. Every quiet evening is mine. A few weeks ago, Cassie texted me happy birthday. She said she hoped I was doing well. I said thank you, and I meant it. I did not ask questions. I did not reopen the door. I don't hate her. That is what surprised me most. I thought leaving would feel like winning. It didn't. It felt like putting down something heavy and realizing my hands were shaking from carrying it for too long. Love is not supposed to be a job, but it does require work. Real work. Mutual work. Respectful work. The kind where both people show up, both people listen, and nobody uses distance, jealousy, or money as a test. I was not perfect. I should have spoken up sooner. I should have stopped trying to prove my value by being endlessly convenient. But I learned something I'll never forget. If someone only calls your love controlling when you stop overgiving, they were not asking for freedom. They were asking for benefits without responsibility. And if someone says loving you feels like a job, sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is clock out. If this story hit close to home, subscribe for more, like and share it with someone who needs to hear it, and comment whether you've ever faced something similar or what you think I should have done differently.